Hello everybody, and welcome to the fifth and final part of my top 25 albums. This is the part that I called my foreign albums, and this is the part that makes up the largest portion of my record collection. I try to keep my comments to minimum simply because I love all of these albums through and through, so I'm not going to just keep giving praise to every one of these albums. But I will mention which album I think is the best album of all time. And yeah, these are in strictly alphabetical order based on the first letter of the band or the first letter of the artist's last name. So let's start with Crowded House, Together Alone, released in 1993. The Cure, Disintegration, released in 1989. The first album that I'm going to give a special mention, Delaney and Bonnie, Accept No Substitute, released in 1969. This one was like a mind-blowing experience when I first heard this album. It was like worlds apart, worlds better than anything that I could have expected. It's sort of a mixture of southern rock, soul, blues, gospel, just absolutely stunning, fantastic album. I have a lot of albums from Eric Clapton and I really love a lot of them, but I have no problem choosing this one. Derek and the Dominos, Layla, released in 1970. Again, I have a lot of albums from Bob Dylan. I have nearly everything he released up until 2006. But I still wouldn't call myself really a big fan of Dylan. But this one is so great that I had no problem choosing this one within these 25 albums. This is Bob Dylan, Oh Mercy, released in 1989. Faith No More, The Real Thing, released in 1989. And it seems that I have a lot of albums from 1989. Seems to be a great year for me. Yeah, this one was, again, much like Delaney and Bonnie, this was like a mind-blowing experience when I first heard this, because this was unlike anything that I had ever heard before. And still, Faith No More's music, not just this album, but their other albums, are unlike anything else that I have in my collection. Free Highway, released in 1971. Their slowest album, but yeah, my favorite. I love all of the albums except for At Last. At Last is okay, I do like it, but I love the other albums, but this one is my favorite. Georgia Satellites, In the Land of Salvation and Sin, released in 1989. Their first two albums are much heavier than this one. This is much lighter album, but so much the better for it. Hot Tuna Burgers, released in 1972. One album that I really want to get on vinyl, but whenever I see it, it's always got a really heavy dose of ringware. Like I have told, I don't play album like back to back. I listen to an album once a day and that's it. So when I bought this several years ago, I bought this in November, and by Christmas I had listened to this 12 times. It may not sound a lot to you, but to me that's a huge number. I really love this, like a laid back blues, mostly like very acoustic tone to it, although there are electric instruments here. Yeah, just absolutely brilliant album. Chris Isaak, Forever Blue, released in 1995. When this one was released, I read about this, and it was said that this is 13 songs of breakup of a relationship and heartbreak, and I thought that, well, it doesn't sound too good, but it is. It's full of heartbreak. Just absolutely brilliant album. Little Feat, Dixie Chicken, released in 1973. Rhythm galore. This album exemplifies Americana music to me. John Cougar Mellencamp, The Lonesome Jubilee, released in 1987. Yeah, one of the most important albums of all time to me. As in a way was this one. Nirvana, Nevermind, released in 1991. This was like a shot in the arm back when this was released. When it came to energy, there was like a serious lack of energy in music before this one was released. Tom Petty, Wildflowers, released in 1994. I love a lot of Tom Petty's albums, but still this one is my favorite. Sadly, Tom Petty's death will postpone the final release of this album. But yeah, I rather would have had Tom Petty alive than getting this one on vinyl, so it goes. Okay, next one is a Stone Cold classic. Every one of you have heard this, or at least have know about this album, and you may go that, yeah, did you have to choose this one? Yeah, I did have to. Because when was the last time that you listened to an album that is like a Stone Cold classic? They are classic for a reason, and that's this one. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, released in 1973. Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, released in 1972. I could have chosen any one of their albums from 68 to 74, but I chose this one simply because this is a double album, and coming up double album worth of like brilliant songs is not easy. But Rolling Stones pulled it off with this one. Santana 3, released in 1971. Although their first two albums are absolutely top, this one is still easily better album. Just Latin rock at its absolute peak. And then the album that I call the best album of all time. Nevermind Bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols, released in 1977. Like I mentioned within my video for top 25 albums of Finnish albums, I'm not going to say that this album is the best album of all time, because this would be so much better than anything else within these 25 albums or within the universe of music. To me, this is the best album for two reasons. First one being obviously that I love every single song here, but the second one is that this includes an element that I have not heard in any other album ever. With punk records, there is always the element of anger. There is always anger towards something, that thing is fucked up. And that element is also here, but it's not only that. There's this element of that thing is fucked up, but there's also the why does it have to be? And that frustration part is the one thing that I have never come across in any other album. That's why this is a unique album to me. I have heard nothing like this one. A masterpiece. A very different kind of masterpiece. Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water, released in 1970. An unknown masterpiece, Soul Asylum, Let Your Dim Light Shine, released in 1995. Yeah, absolutely a masterpiece to me. Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story, released in 1971. Not my favorite album from Rod Stewart. The follow-up to this one, Never a Dull Moment, is my favorite, but this is the best album. And again, like Faith No More, Sting, Nothing Like the Sun, released in 1987. I have nothing like this one in my collection. I could call this one art. This songwriting and musicianship on this album is so high level. It's just brilliant. I absolutely love this album. Richard and Linda Thompson, Hokey Pokey, released in 1975. The third duet album. All first three albums are absolutely top-notch. This is my favorite from them. Absolutely fantastic folk rock. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, The Sky is Crying, released in 1991. I love all of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble albums. I think they are all absolutely fantastic, but still this one is the best one. And to think that these are outtakes, stuff that was left off from his albums, is just mind-boggling. The quality here is so great. And then proof that you should cherry pick the songs that you choose to be on your albums. And that is The Who's Next, released in 1971. Yeah, best songs cherry picked from Pete Townshend's Lifehouse project, and for a good reason. This is just absolutely a masterpiece, which I seriously doubt that Pete Townshend's Lifehouse project is. Lifehouse project was released several decades later, late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, I seriously doubt that keeps up the intensity and level of songs that is included here. Okay, that's it. I had actually quite easy. It was quite easy for me to choose about 30 albums, but dwindling down to 25 was really difficult. It was like heartbreaking leaving a few of these choices out. And I was actually even considering showing them here as sort of like a bubbling under album, but I decided that I haven't done that with the other categories, so I won't be showing them here either. Okay, that's it for this 5-part series. Hope you have liked this. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Bye.